Hey everybody, welcome back to Rocky's Hot Takes. This one's a little different, different than Kickstarter. I received a package yesterday in the mail. It was one of the Kickstarters I backed and ordered, and it was one that I've been looking forward to for some time. And like it or hate it, it reminded me of the old days, so to speak, my old days anyway. And I think I wanted to talk a bit about tabletop nostalgia. Where did your history come from? A lot of us played games for a while. And when you start getting as old as I am, games a while ago meant, 70s, early 70s, mid 70s. And in my house, I didn't grow up playing Monopoly. I grew up with games like King Oil and Codename Sector and Dungeon and games that were a little not quite mainstream. And, admittedly, most things back then were mainstream. I had Mousetrap and Candyland and Life and all those things as well. But I was always kind of drawn to the slightly edgier stuff, the things that were a little more not mainstream. The things you find in hobby shops rather than the things you found in, back then, Alco, Kmart, Sears, and Roebucks. And it was getting this package that made me start thinking about that and where I got started in all this and how it kind of came up to me. And I'm always interested to hear people's histories. How did you get started in gaming? What got you into this hobby? And since I started in gaming, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was about 10 years old, a little less. So late 70s. And it changed my view on what you could do with a game. And I got a few things. I had the red box, the Dungeons and Dragons red box. I had the blue box, the expert set. And I even had that teal colored box. It was like the Deities Gods or one. The one that was, they didn't make very many of. For some reason I'm forgetting the name of it. And then I thought that was pretty cool. And what came in that box was some of these. The first set of polyhedrals with the crayon that you had to fill in. And this isn't my original set. That's kind of a tragic story. But this one was secured for me by my brother. And I'll tell you what happened is I had this set of dice and I had my original blue set, kind of that slate blue set of Dungeons and Dragons dice. I had them until I was about 30 years old. So I had them for 20 some years. And they were my favorite dice. That blue beat up D20. At the time I had a black crayon that I'd colored them in with. That was my favorite D20. Played with that thing for 20 years. And the other thing that I got shortly after I got that box set in that game was I needed a bag to put the dice in. And I got this red kind of velvet bag. And I always liked the way it smelled. A bit of wax, a bit of nostalgia. And you know how smells will really take you back, right? That's what this bag did for me. And this is my original dice bag. This dice bag is 36, 37 years old, something. It's crazy. And this bag has been with me through 26 moves. Since I moved all those times all my life, including moving overseas from America to Australia. I've always kept a hold of this. And what tragically happened to my original set of dice, I had them in this bag, and I was getting ready to do one of those moves. I was moving from Colorado Springs to Denver, and the gaming group I was with, the last thing I pack is usually my D&D stuff, so I know where it is. And we packed up this U-Haul truck, and it was really crazy late at night. And I have my D&D stuff ready to go, and I set it on a little stool in the garage, and we finished packing the truck, and I was tired. I said my goodbyes, and they said, well, what do you want us to do with the stuff you're leaving behind? I said, well, just divvy it up, whatever. You guys can have whatever's left. And I left. I drove away. And everything was still in boxes. It was a temporary move. And it wasn't until a few months later when I got out my stuff and I was looking for my D&D stuff. And I realized I'd left my D&D stuff at the house on that stool. And so when I called my brother, I said, hey, did you guys find my dice bag and my stuff? He said, yeah. Oh. I need that. Can you give it back to me? He's like, dude, you said we could divvy it up. I don't even know where that stuff is anymore. It kind of devastated me, really, because I'd had that stuff for so long. And I got back some of my dice, some of my original dice. And obviously, being in the game business and stuff now, I've got crap tons of dice everywhere. But I still have my original dice bag, and my brother knew I was pretty broke up over it, even when I came over here. So he actually tracked down one of these sets for me and gave it to me as a gift, which I am still very grateful for. But the other things that I was nostalgic for is I still have my original second edition PHB. Now, I had a first edition that had the thief climbing up on the idol's head and prying the eye out on the cover and stuff. And I'd drawn dragons inside the cover of that and everything. But that one got lost in a flood, which, again, kind of sucked. But, it was what it was. And I found that I heard something kind of flattering one time, that I was able to play AD&D second edition. And I used to run games for conventions and things. I'd done quite a bit of it. But I had this book close to memorized. And I'd be able to tell somebody, I don't think I can anymore. They'd say, oh, I need, what's a saving throw for blah, blah, blah. And I would hand them my book and it said page 119, saving throw table, or whatever it was. I don't even remember anymore. Oh, yeah. Improvision, light, sensitivity. That's what's on 119, actually. But at the time, I was able to hand it to them and tell them what page number or whatever they were looking for was on. And that actually inspired another guy that was in our gaming group to be the ultimate DM. And he is. He's got everything. He's studied Forgotten Realms inside and out. But that's a very nostalgic thing for me, is where I got my start in D&D. And I really wish I had my original PHB, my first edition one. This one was actually signed by Zeb Cook, one of the authors and one of the people that was working with TSR when they did this, because he came to a convention where I was in Denver. It was at, it was like Gen Con. Oh no, it was in Denver. 1989 at Dragon Con in Denver. He came to that convention and he DM'd a game for us. So that was pretty good, and I got him to sign my book. And that kind of brings me to the thing that triggered all this for me, and the nostalgia. And what I actually ordered was the Pocket Box games from Steve Jackson. I've got Ogre, Illuminati, Car Wars, and Truck Stop. And these are the ones, I haven't even broke the cellophane on these yet. But these are the ones with the cardboard in them, and you had to cut out the cars, and you would slide them around on little maps and things. And we used to play this in study hall in school. And it was easy. You could carry it around in your backpack. And it was just one of those things that I always associated with gaming in my gaming history. And when this thing showed up in the mail, I just spent a few minutes thinking about the history of that. Having Uncle Albert's catalogs and everything. And the boxes were slightly different then, weren't as thick and stuff. But I saw this and thought, oh man, that's going to take me back. I'm going to get this open without spilling everything everywhere, unless they did it different this time. But I thought this is going to be cool, and I had to get these. So I got Car Wars, Truck Stop, Illuminati, and Ogre. I don't know how to open the box, and I think if I pry it too much, I'm going to pop it open and flip everything anywhere. But I'll tell you how that goes later. But original artwork, same basic size, And I'm looking forward to looking at the cardboard contents of this thing and seeing how it goes together. But what got you into it? What's your nostalgia story? You know, what do you remember fondly, or even in some cases not so fondly? You know, I think some of us have that good memory, bad memory. We had a few issues, and some people were walking out into a snowstorm and all kinds of weird stuff when we were gaming. But it was some of the favorite parts of growing up. And I think that is something that tabletop does better than most things. Video games have that nostalgia aspect to them as well, for sure. I remember sitting playing Nintendo, and way back when, Atari 2600, ColecoVision, the Atari, we even had an Atari Jaguar, and my friend had the Intellivision, we had the ColecoVision, and then I skipped a few and got into Super NES and the various Xboxes and PlayStation and things. There's nostalgia there as well, but with tabletop, things seem to last so much longer. You don't have you have new games coming out and things, but the games you started with or have originally, the original dice bags, the attachment you get to that kind of stuff, and maybe it's the tactile nature of things. But I really think that tabletop games form that lasting nostalgia more so than almost anything else in the gaming or hobby industry. So tell me what you think. I really want to know, what's your nostalgia thing? What's your nostalgia trigger? What is it that you remember as starting out in gaming? Or what is it that you really latched on to? You know? And I'll post a link to this on Facebook and stuff. Put the pictures up. If you've got pictures with your old games or your favorite books or your old beat up dice or something, let's have a look. I mean, it's a great hobby to be in. I'm glad we can bring this all together. Thanks for watching. Thanks for this short trip down memory lane. I hope to see you all in the future sometime. And as always, make awesome things.